Okay, today I'm going to show you how to make tassels on the sewing machine, which are really quite simple once you know how. You can make them in all sorts of different threads. As you can see, I've got a huge selection here. Once you've learned how to make a basic tassel, we can learn how to make beaded tassels and knotted head tassels, all sorts of things. But today I'm just going to show you how to make a simple tassel like this. You need a cardboard frame. Now I cut mine out of mount board, which is stiff enough. It needs to be quite a firm cardboard. Sort of cereal box isn't firm enough. It needs to be something like mount board. The size of the frame will determine the size of your tassel. These are about 12 centimetres high, 6 centimetres wide, with a aperture in the middle. And I make a little mark part way down. I'm trying to think, that's probably about 3 centimetres in the middle. And that's quite important. And then what you need to do is decide on the thread. I use machine threads. I've got a rayon here. I usually have a little nick in the top to hold it in place. And then we wrap the machine thread around the frame about 60 times. And I've got one here that I've started earlier. So once you've wrapped it around, this is what it looks like. Now, at the moment, I'm going to use the same thread to do my machining. So I'm going to put this on the top of my machine. You can use a different thread and then you get a different effect. I'm not sure I've got one here with different colours on, but oops, that always pops out. We'll leave that there. And I've got the same colour thread in my bobbin as well. So it's all going to be colour coordinated. Pull that bobbin thread up to the surface and I'm ready to go. Now you'll see I've got my free machining embroidery foot on. I've lowered my feed dogs. My top tension's slightly lower, so I'm set up for free machining, and I'm going to go onto a zigzag. And I'm going to take that as wide as it will go. So I've got a wide zigzag. The only thing I'm going to do here is try to make sure that my needle doesn't hit that foot. If it does, you need to make your zigzags slightly narrower. I've then got 2 bits of thicker thread, and I find this helps. It's not necessary, but it just helps and makes it all a bit simpler. I'm just going to tie these threads together at the top and at the bottom. You'll see why in a moment. Where you need about 3 pairs of hands. I'll turn in my frame so that I can see these little marks. Remember, I made these little marks on the frame. Keeping all the threads out of the way, I'm going to start part way down between these marks. Put my foot down and then zigzag. Remember, I'm free zigzagging over those threads. The cords that I've tied top and bottom help hold those threads together, makes it easier. And then I'm just going to go backwards so that my needle is now level with that top mark. And I'm going to zigzag all the way down. The threads, my top thread and bobbin threads, I've held along with the other threads, so they'll all be included. Down to that bottom mark. And I might just run it back over it again just to neaten it up. That's slipped out of the way, get that over it. And there we are, that's done. Now these threads here, don't cut them off. We're going to tie. I can actually remove these ones now. Don't need those anymore. And those threads there, I'm just going to tie off at the end so that they don't come unravelled. But don't cut them off, we're going to use them. Now at this point, we cut the tassel off the frame. A little word here, I haven't showed you how to make a beaded tassel, but if you make a beaded tassel, you have lots of beads threaded on. You don't cut the threads when you've got a beaded tassel, because otherwise you get beads all over the floor. You have to cut your tassel frame then. But for this, I can cut my threads. So I just cut top and bottom. And that's what I have here. Looks like a little moustache, a little orange moustache. And those threads that I didn't cut off, I now use, I fold it in half. And these are the long threads, and I can use them to wrap around the top and hold. It's not going, is it? It's always easier said than done, these things. That's it, if I do it from that way. We tie that. Again, I need another pair of hands really. And then just with an ordinary needle and thread, I can tuck those in. And there you have it, a little machine made tassel. It's not very neat because I've done it very quickly, but I'm sure you get the idea. And once you know the basic principle, you can then go on and learn how to make all sorts of different tassels. And that's what I'm going to be doing here at Be Crafty. In a couple of weeks' time, I'm going to show you how to make different types of tassels and combined with beads and these cords, and we'll be making these lovely pendants.